Casper the Friendly Ghost. "And don't come back till you can be mean and nasty, as a ghost should be," shouted a mean, nasty ghost, actually kicking Casper, the friendly ghost, out of the house. Casper landed with a thump at the edge of the enchanted forest. "I don't want to be mean," he sighed. "I just want to be friendly." He then picked up himself and started off to see his very best friend, Wendy, the good little witch. But when Casper got to Wendy's house, he could hear the evil witch Weevil scolding her, saying, "And don't come back till you can be evil, as a witch should be." Wendy saw Casper and sighed. "I don't want to be evil. I just want to be good." "Stay just the way you are, Wendy," Casper told her. Then he took her hand and they walked through the woods together. Meanwhile, at the cottage, the very polite bears had a different scene taking place. Mamma and Papa Bear were enjoying a happy breakfast with two very polite bear cubs, and then, with a kiss for each, they were sent out to play with Casper and Wendy. Casper and Wendy forgot their troubles for a while and played with the bears. They laughed and scampered and jumped and frolicked. They were happy as a friendly ghost, a good witch, and two very polite bears could be. But all the time they played and sang they were being watched by Witch Weevil, who was hiding behind a tree. Witch Weevil muttered to herself, "All that happiness, all that laughter, all that goodness." Then she thought of something mean. "I'll cast a spell on those bears," she cackled. "Ebbity, bibbity, babbity, scratch and bite, claw and fight." Instantly the very polite bears turned into rude, nasty, ill-tempered bears. One turned to Casper. "Scat, you horrid ghost," he growled. "It's you and your kind who frighten everybody." He swung a mean fist right at Casper, which only went right through him because he was a ghost. "I'm sorry, Casper," Wendy said. "I can't imagine what happened." "Whatever it was," said Casper, "it was something terrible. I never saw such a change. We must help them, Wendy." They peeked around a tree and saw that there was something terrible. Those two polite bears were kicking each other and biting and scratching each other. "I've never seen them so nasty," Casper whispered. Behind another tree Witch Weevil snickered. "How much better," she cackled, "to hear growls and grumbles than giggles and gurgles." Casper and Wendy heard her. "She has cast a spell on the bears," Wendy whispered. "We'll have to do something," Casper said, "or they'll forget how to be polite." "Well," said Wendy, "I could make them silent, but they may have forgotten already." "I can remind them," said Casper, and he whispered his plans in Wendy's ear. She smiled and flew off to join the fighting, biting, scratching bears. Casper made himself invisible and walked right through the trunks of the trees. When Wendy reached the bears, she took out her magic wand and said, "Growl not, grumble not, silent be." Instantly the bears were silent, but the frowns were still there. Then one little bear decided to kick the other, but just as he began to lift his foot, an invisible hand came out of the ground and held it back. Then he started to growl something mean, but the words that came out were, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you." The other bear turned to snarl, but the words that came out were, "Please forgive me, it was all my fault." And they were both smiling. The bears' smiles were bigger than ever when Wendy waved her wand and said, "Break your silence, bear in mind, always use a word that's kind." "We will, Wendy, we will," the bears promised. "We always do. It was that awful ghost, Casper, who caused all the trouble." "Casper is a friendly ghost," said Wendy. "It was his invisible hands that stopped your kicking. It was his voice that spoke the kind words for you." "Oh my," the bears said, "how wrong we were," and they both rushed over to carry their hero on their shoulders. Happy to be friends again, they all started a game of follow the leader. Casper, as the leader, stood on his hands and walked on air. And as a reward to the once again very polite bears, Wendy waved her magic wand and gave them the power to do the same. Witch Weevil watched from behind a tree and shook her fist. But everyone was too busy being good and friendly to pay attention. At last she flew off through the trees, screeching angrily. "Such a terrible noise," said Wendy. "Such an unhappy sound," cried Casper. The two little bears nodded. "But you two have taught us that the happiest sound is a kind word." "And there's certainly lots of magic in that," said Casper and Wendy.